Hello everybody, it's Lindsay from the Vintage Button. A bit of slow stitching on a Sunday. I want to explain what I've already done and what we did last week. So last week we started on this little wreath. I cut it out beforehand and I showed you how I made a template using a plate and a tape dispenser to kind of get the donut shape. Then I took some fabric sample fabric and cut two of the bases out. Then I used a variety of my fabrics, some of them from fabric samples and some of them just from my stash, to make this patchwork effect. And there's some lace and there's some braiding, some velvet ribbon, and I made these holly leaves from samples and felt. This is from blind sample material that's been stamped on and cut out, and then a big button, so that's like my little holly bushel. And then this morning when I woke up, I sort of sewed everything on because I kind of left it pinned up, and then I had other things I needed to do, and I thought, well, Sunday morning, that's what I'll do. I got up and had a good time sewing. It was lovely, and put all these bits and pieces together and sewed this bit around here. When I got to the end of sewing this bit around here, so this would be about 9 o'clock in the morning, I heard an almighty bang, and outside a branch had fallen down and hit the telephone cables of all the houses. And it had hit one cable, but it affected all the houses, and it was in the road, and it was a big mess. And all the people out of the houses came out, and we all sort of collectively cleared the mess off the road. And we also kind of, well, my husband and one of the ladies from across the road sort of rigged this thing up onto the cable that was hanging in the road, so that if you were in a high vehicle you would see it basically and you wouldn't hit it. We called the police. It was a big thing. It took for hours. Yeah, we were there a while. So after that we went out. And then I've come back, I've put dinner in the oven, and I've sewn thus far around the outside, because I thought you wouldn't want to sit and watch me sew all the way around. You'd want to see where I'm up to and what my thoughts are. So I've got a little bit of a hanging situation here, which is a rickrack with a shoelace bow, and then there's a hang thing there, and then we might put a button in there, and that'll be the top. I stuffed it using this stuff, which comes in these bags, and I have a medication. Oh, I think this is what all the dust is. I'll have to be careful of that. That's why I'm keeping it in this bag. I have a medication that's delivered once a month that I take weekly, and it is something that has to be kept in the fridge, so it's always wrapped up in this wool as insulation. It's like kind of an eco-friendly thing, which is right up my street. So I thought I have to use it now. I mean, I could just compost it, I guess, but I might get to that point where that's what I have to do, because I'm going to get a big, so they come in like these big packets, and I've just took a nibble out of it to stuff this. Next time we're going to make a tea cosy, because it's getting to tea weather. And I mean, I drink tea anyway because I'm English, but I mean, like, having a pot of tea instead of tea and water, just like, you know, having tea on the go, a big pot of tea on the go all the time, and it goes cold. And, you know, I'm very particular about the temperature of my tea and how long I want to keep it. And I have a selection of teapots as well. So I was thinking I need to make 2 tea cozies. I have a really tall family size teapot that we use sometimes, like on a Sunday morning or something, if we're all having breakfast together. And then I have a few squatter teapots that we would be able to, like, one tea cozy would be able to go on it. And we only use 1 teapot at a time, unless we had like millions of people around to offer choices. So So yeah, this stuff is laid inside. Ow, I've just stabbed myself with a needle. And then I've just sort of pinned it in place and then sewn around the outside. You can hear noises in the background. I've got the door on because it's really warm in here. And you can hear the cat is just coming in yowling for food. And the little boy next door is having his pre-bedtime shout. But there we go. So, what was your Sunday morning like? Did you have to deal with fallen trees outside? It was not what I wanted to do with my Sunday morning. I like to get up before everybody else gets up. Generally, actually, most days I like to be up before everybody else is up. I like to be, you know, in the bath, sorted out, had my breakfast, have a cup of tea. Tomorrow's going to be a little bit mad because my child's back at college. So it'll be our first day when we all have to be out of the house, like we had to do in the good olden days. So I was thinking the other day that I was serving my notice. This time last year I'd handed my notice in and I was supposed to serve 4 weeks and I actually served 3 because I had a COVID injection, like a vaccine. And they always make me really ill. And I kind of, this sounds horrible, but I actually timed it for that because I thought, well, I don't want to be, I didn't know what it was a requirement that you had to have it for your employment because I worked in social care at that point. Not actually doing any of the care, but, you know, if you do, you know, you work in that place. I'm going to stuff this a little bit more. You have to have had it. I don't know if I'm going to have it next time. I don't know. So yeah, stuff a little bit more. Oh yeah, that is quite dusty, isn't it? Oh, smoky even. I have to be careful of that. So yeah, what was I saying? Being careful not to go off the edge. Normally when I sew really close to me. So actually sewing like this, I am a little bit hyperextending my back, which is why another reason why I don't want to sit here for like an hour stitching on camera, because I don't actually think it would be very good for me for my back. But also I'm sewing very far away from myself. I have found it difficult. There we go. But anyway, so after that we did have a nice time. We went out. I bought a mirror from my dining room because it's quite dark in my dining room. We have, if you're not British you'll not understand, but we have the houses that are typical houses. Are they typical houses? Probably not, probably less so now, but all of my family actually live in, bar my mum and my brother who lives in Canada, live in a terraced house, and my mum lived in a terraced house before. Yeah, so they are quite typical. It might be they're just quite typical up north, and then I've bought something down south that looks like something you'd have up north. But anyway, they're all sort of stuck together, and it's so like the houses are in a row stuck together, and then out of the back there's always like a little double extension. It's like a tiny extra wing. So your house is like an L shape or a T shape depending where this little extension bit goes out from your house. And yeah, so our little extension bit at the bottom of it, the bottom half, has been extended out. So there's a flat roof extension out, and that's where the kitchen was sort of more than doubled in size, which we really appreciate, and was one of the big reasons why we bought the house, because the kitchen was much bigger than the other kitchens we were looking at. But what that means, the impact on that, is that there used to be a window directly into the dining room, and now the dining room sort of like it's a little bit open concept, with the kitchen, there's like one of the counters is sort of separates it off, but in effect it's the same room, and it does mean it's quite dark down there. I was like, what am I going to do to just bounce the light around? And the walls are painted cream. I don't want to live in a white box. Having lived in private rented for a long time where you weren't really allowed to paint the walls, I do want to paint the walls colours actually. And I was thinking of being quite dramatic in the dining room. We've got quite high ceilings. But that's one of the only original features left. Like even the banister going downstairs is from the 70s. So we're thinking like doing something to make it a little bit more how it would have been, and some of that would be in the colours. Now, is that the wool fibre? I don't think it is. So yeah, so I wanted a mirror to bounce it around, and I've been looking in the second-hand places and I couldn't find anything that was big enough. And I was going to do this thing where you put lots of mirrors together, sort of overlap them and make like a big mirror that way. And because I had that in the previous house, I had something similar, and I was like, I just don't like the idea of it. Yeah, just didn't like the idea of it. So I've been looking, going to the antiques places, going to the charity shops, the thrift shops that we know for since we've moved into this house, and I couldn't find one. And I just got a little bit impatient in the week, so I said to my husband, will you take me to Bury, St Edmunds, which has got nice shopping, and can I look for a mirror? So we did. So we ended up in the range. We went to B&M first, because sometimes they do big mirrors, and B&M's like a cheaper shop, and I thought, I just need the glass really. If I really don't like the frame, I can sort that out myself. You know, like I could buy wood and make a frame. I'm pretty convinced, you know, you only need a mitre saw, and we've definitely got one of them somewhere in the deepest, darkest bowels of our garage. So I was like, we'll go in there first, see if I can find something. And there wasn't anything. It was, yeah, I was actually a bit disappointed in it. I normally like shops like that because you get little bits and pieces that are interesting, and Christmas is coming, and I don't need to buy any more Christmas decorations, but you know, you never know what you find that you think, oh, that'll just be right. So anyway, we ended up in the range and we saw this mirror, and I think it was £40, which was really reasonable, and I'd budgeted for a bit more than that. So yeah, we bought that, and it fits perfectly. It's like the perfect height. There was a larger one, and I was tempted to go for the larger one, thinking, well, if it doesn't work in the dining room, the lounge fireplace is shorter, so it could work there. But that already has a big mirror. It doesn't really need a bigger mirror in there. So we did that, and that worked really well. And when we came back, the cable had been sorted, so obviously British Telecom had come out and either rewired it or took it down. I don't know, whatever they were going to do. So yeah, it's been a bit of a weird day. Also, like, we had a little bimble. We didn't go into the town centre. We just went like on the outskirts, you know, like where all the retail bits are. Had a bimble. Had a cup of tea in Glasswells, which is a very nice furniture shop that has a cafe. Now this is the bit where I'm not sure where I want this hanger. I'm going to put that there. So I've got a hanger, and I don't know if I want this little bow on it or if I just want the hanger, because I'm thinking I don't want the bow. I might just put the hanger on because I can always put the bow on later. So it's, where do we want the top bit to be? I think I want the top bit because I want this to the side. I didn't want it to the bottom, I wanted it to the side like that. I did it like that. So just on the other side of that ribbon. Okay. Yeah. So next week we'll be making a tea cosy, I think, or I might have a little in between project for Slow Stitch Sunday. Why I get my head around the tea cosy bit. But when I did go into Glasswells, I noticed there was lots of fabric sample books of various weights of fabric. So I might email them and see if where they distribute old sample books. I don't know, I have to come up with a way of wording it, of saying what I am, that, you know, I'm not like a big company or anything, I'm just this little hobbyist wanting to make stuff out of recycled things. And, you know, the fabrics are very beautiful. There were some nice tweeds and all kinds of stuff, and I think some of it will be seasonal. The furniture's not. The furniture is stunning. Oh, I love walking around Glasswells. If I ever won the lottery, I think what I would do is when you buy the house you're going to move to, I would just do, this is how, because I've spent years of having furniture off the side of the road, which I don't mind, but I've just, the only things that we've ever bought new have been mattresses. Yeah, literally have been mattresses. So, and we bought good mattresses. We haven't bought cheap mattresses. Really nice, you know, decent mattresses. That's probably where we'll go for our next mattress. Actually, I was having a quick look at the mattresses, and yeah, I think if I ever won the lottery, I would go to Glasswells. I would have my people called Glasswells, which would probably be me pretending to be my people, and say I'd like to come early one morning before the shop opens. And I think I would just go around and fill the house. Just like would be, I'll have that blue sofa, and I'll have this, and I'll have that, and just sort of, which would be the height of extravagance for me. And just have it all delivered and set up. I probably wouldn't actually. It probably would take me a long time, but it's just the thought of having, well, that's why you pay somebody, don't you? You pay somebody to do that. But I thought it could be like, you know, the Pretty Woman bit where she goes and buys all the clothes, but furniture. That's because all the glamour has left me now, ladies. I'm a dull old lady. It's not bothered about clothes. So the medication that I'm on is actually weight loss medication, because I'm getting old and I don't want to end up being disabled and old because of my weight. And so I've decided to go on the Wegovy, I think it's called, for a couple of years and see how that works. I'm not telling you who I'm doing it through, but it is working, and it's working in a way that I've always struggled. Well, I've not always struggled with my weight. I've always thought I've struggled with my weight, and there's been times I've been very thin and not struggled with my weight, so it's been an issue. But since I had my daughter, I have struggled with my weight, and it has been a sort of very intentional, having to think about food all the time, and having times in your life where you just don't have the energy to be thinking about not eating food all the time, because you've got other things that you have to do, so you kind of switch the noise off by giving into it, basically. And if you struggled with your weight, you would know what I mean by that, because I think if you've never struggled with it, you wouldn't understand. And why would you? You know, why would you? Sort of, I understand why people wouldn't understand it. So yeah, I've gone on this weight loss medication, and it's so easy, and it is like the noise has been switched off. I don't think about food. Having this conversation's not triggering me to think about food. It's weird. My husband will be like, do you want, like, because in the evening I would normally snack a lot in the evening. Like, do you want this? Do you want that? And I'm like, no, I don't. Just don't. He's like, oh, you're being weird now. I mean, he doesn't need to lose weight or anything. It's just me. my jeans. So that's why I get the injections that I've got to sit in the fridge. So that's a bit vulnerable. Ooh, telling the internet that. I've told some close friends, told work colleagues, because they're gonna know, and they have noticed, because I've lost a stone at least. I'm not really, because you're meant to weigh. They want you to weigh yourself every day, because you're supposed to have like. And I work in mental health in a situation where I have clients that I coach through certain goals, nothing to do with health. But I was like, I know I'm meant to engage with this because this is what I do, but I don't want to. I'm just happy not to have the noise. So I don't want to think about the noise. This is the most I've talked about the noise. Yeah, there we go. I don't want you to, you're not ever going to be my therapy. So that's as personal as it's going to get, because of boundaries are important. But yeah, just, it's just a journey. So we went to Glasswells and I had a piece of cake. Which is, I was like, do I want this cake? And it really made me like, and I enjoyed it. But I would have been alright without having it. And I don't feel like I'm not enjoying life. It just feels different. I don't know how we got onto that. We're nearly here, we're nearly finished. Having a natter. I think slow stitching, you either sit and you do it very contemplatively. If I can say that word. Yeah, that's strong enough. Or it's something you do communally. I've done slow stitching communally before, and like run slow stitching workshops that have been done communally, and it's been like a great space for women, and I had some young people. I've done it with young people, and there's been a mix of young people. But there we go. So that's it finished. I was going to put some buttons, but then I realised all of this is really busy, and the button, it just looked too much, whereas I think this is probably just right for this one. Now though, the issue is, do I put that on or not? What do we think? I don't know, because of its proximity to that. But then it doesn't really matter, does it? What do I think? I think not for now. I think just leave it. And then I'll have to find some way of fixing it to my pretty shelves in my dining room. And I will give you a little tour of the Christmas wall in that room. I've decided. Yeah. It's difficult to know how much you want to put on the internet for the rest of the world. Yeah. So if you've got this far, hello, thank you. If you're new, subscribe, like and comment to be entered into the... Everybody's going to be fed up. Going to be fed up, so I'm like, how much do I say about this? How much do not? I've still not worked on this. I need to have some time off work to do it. To do the Etsy shop and everything. But I have got this one that's made out of a Victorian book, and it's going to be an advent calendar, and inside are going to be 25 handmade items or found items out in the wild that will either be junk journaling or slow stitching themed. So it's going to be wonderful. Now there's the bigger version which will have the same things, but it's just going to be like a bigger journal, a bigger pincushion, a bigger needle book, and so forth. They're going to be in an Etsy shop. They are going to be a little bit spendy. They are going to be £60 plus postage. That's purely because you're going to get things that have been handmade, that have gone into it, and if you added up the value of the time taken to make all those things, that's how much it would be. So I'm only making 5 of them to see how it goes, because I've got to get my stash down so I can make room for more adventures in finding things, because I like the adventures. I like finding, like, I found loads of maps in an old barn that were all wet, you know, and haggled for those, and like the thought of going finding these sample books for the slow stitching out somewhere. There's like another place just further up my road, and I'm thinking I'm going to email them and see if I can just get lots of different places where they'll give me things, and then process them and make beautiful things with you. I could do some packs of stuff as well if that's not something that's available to you locally, but I'd encourage you to do it. Go and find your local free library, and don't take the books that everybody's reading to cut up, but you know, there's always like some random map book that's 10 years out of date in these library things that are sort of taking up the space. We have them in British red telephone boxes around here, or in bus stops, and they're always like at the bottom, and they're getting a bit damp and a bit neglected, so I just pick them up and I use them, make beautiful things out of them. So join me. That's what I do at the Vintage Button. I make stuff from old stuff, and I do like it. I do like it. It makes me feel happy. Makes me feel grounded. Yeah. So tomorrow we'll be having a flip through. I'm not sure which book I'm going to do with a flip through. I might do my petal journal, or I might do a journal that's the similar type of book to the one I started working on yesterday. So it's not this book, but it's from the same set. So I might look at that one, just because it's got a little bit of autumn in it, and it's got some of the similar things that I've done in this book in that. So I'm thinking it might inspire me. That's why I'm thinking of doing that one. So yeah, this is the Vintage Button. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I'm going to finish this off and tie a knot. You don't need to know how I do that, because that's just tying a knot, isn't it? Like, if you want to see it, ask me, I'll show you. Yeah, but let me know how your Sunday went. Let me know what you think about the wreath. Is it something that you would do? I think it's probably the easiest Christmas thing I've made. We are going to, I was digging this out, we are going to make some of these paper thingies. This has been stuck together, because sometimes you can hold them together with a paper clip. That is going to be a make. But paper barn star, because these can go in your Christmas tree, and they're the last present that needs to be made for all the advent calendars. So we're going to do that soon, probably this week. So yeah, that's what's coming up on the Vintage Button. I hope you have a fantastic Sunday. I'm going to go and get the tray bake that I put in the oven out for us to have for our dinner. Yeah. See you tomorrow. Thank you very much. Bye bye.